Welcome to another episode of the Dual Purpose podcast. If you're new to the podcast, my name is Latoya. I'm your host and founder of Dual Purpose. I am really excited about today's topic. We are talking about the blessing of godly friendships. Now, how many of you have experienced the blessing of godly friendships? I know there are some people in my life who have literally helped me to become the woman I am today and also continue to support me to become the woman that God created me to be. So I'm really excited because today I have a very special guest. I am interviewing my best friend for more than 20 years. And when I thought about this topic, I just thought she would be the perfect person to have this conversation with, the blessing of godly friendship. So join me and welcome my best friend, Adria. So, welcome, Adria. It's so good to have you with us today on the Dual Purpose podcast. And for those of you who may not know you, could you just briefly tell us who you are and a little bit about what you do?
Sure. My name is Adria. I am Latoya's best friend, even though we're on different countries right now. I'm a nurse and a mom and a Christian. So I think that kind of brings me to why I'm here to have this conversation with my friend about godly friendships.
Absolutely. And when I was preparing for this episode, I just thought this would be the perfect opportunity to bring you on the podcast. And you're actually my first guest on the podcast. So, yeah.
Woo-hoo.
um, it was just perfect to talk about godly friendships because, yeah, as you alluded to, we have very different accents. So I'm based in the UK and Adria is in the USA. And I think one of the great things about our friendship is that it's not only stood the test of time for over 20 years, but it's also stood the test of distance because sometimes that can really just get in the way and people grow apart. But we've somehow managed to maintain this bond between us. Um, so yeah, today we are talking about the blessing of godly friendships. And again, in preparation for this, there was a particular story in the Bible that just came to mind, which was the paralytic man who had these friends that helped him to get to Jesus. So for those of you who are listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube, I'm just going to read the scripture just so that we have that foundation for our conversation today. So this is Mark chapter 2, verses 2 to 4. It is also in Luke chapter 5 as well. So I'm reading from the New King James Version, and it says from verse 2, immediately many gathered together, so that there was no longer room to receive them, not even near the door. And he, being Jesus, preached the word to them. Then they came to him, bringing a paralytic who was carried by 4 men. And when they could not come near him because of the crowd, they uncovered the roof where he was. So when they had broken through, they let down the bed on which the paralytic was lying. What a powerful scripture. So, sis, I'm going to let you kick this off. There's 3 things I think would be great to cover in this episode. Talking about the paralytic man, you know, we've all been through situations where we've been in a fight for our lives, we've been in a low place, a dark place. I also want to talk about his friends, though, because the blessing of godly friendships is definitely evident in this story. And also the fact that you don't need 100 people around you. You know, your squad doesn't have to be 100 deep. You can have just those 4 friends, 2 friends that are those godly friends that will help you on your walk. So I'll let you start, sis, about the paralytic man.
Yeah, I think the story, a lot of things resonate with me,
Mm,
but I just love that my friend can be ill,
mm,
right? And I don't think, oh, that's too bad, or, oh, I wish I could help, but I actually figure out a way to help, right?
mm,
I find out there's a healer, and when I get there, it's crowded.
mhm,
So I think, okay, I can't get through. But, like, I don't get this I don't get discouraged when I see all the people there. I don't think I can't make it through.
mhm,
We get a plan together and then we get up to that roof, make a hole in the roof and lower you down
mhm,
so that you can get your healing. And I also sometimes just think about those friends. Like, are they sitting on the roof looking in, like just waiting there? Did they come down from the roof and go by the front door? to wait for their friend. Because with faith like that,
Mm,
I can see myself waiting at the door for my friend to walk out
yes.
completely healed.
I love that. Absolutely. And to be fair, the Bible doesn't say, what did they do? Did they go down with him? But I love your take on that, that it does take faith to stand outside waiting to see the miracle that you already know has happened. Um, yeah, and it's interesting you said about let's get a plan together because I'll be honest, when I was thinking about this story, I was like, of the friends that I have around me, who would be the one that says, let's take her on the roof? And I must admit, it was you. I can just hear you like, okay, we can't get through the door. It's okay. It's no problem. Let's go to the roof. We are going to get Toya to Jesus today. um, and honestly, that's one of the things I love about our friendship is that you are that friend. You are that loyal one that has a plan. One thing with Adria, she is going to have a plan. And I remember a situation I was in actually 2 years ago, and I remember calling you, and it was about 4 a.m. my time, and I knew, you would be awake because it was about 10 p.m. your time. And you answered that phone so quick because you're aware of the time difference. And I remember telling you what was going on, and I was like, sis, I don't know what to do. And you were like, no wonder you can't sleep, Toya. You don't have a plan. Let's get a plan together. This is what you need to do. And you literally told me what the plan was, and I came off that phone with such peace because I now had a plan. I did everything you told me to do, and immediately that situation was resolved. So yeah, if I never said it before, thank you, sis, for being my friend that always has a plan and is willing to go through the roof.
Oh my goodness. But you know what? It's not one-sided at all. It's never one-sided. I remember when I had Maddie and I was here and didn't know that I was ill, didn't know I needed help, somebody to pick me up, bring me to the roof and lower me. And you were that person. You came, and because of that healing that I got with you being here, you helping me, I was then able to continue to grow and be healthy in my life afterwards, be a great mom, go back to my career, and it's crazy, like those small things, like as friends, when your friend reaches out, right, and they need help, and for some reason you don't know, but the timing is right, right, or you just feel it. The Holy Spirit talks to you and it's like, nope, you got to take a second for this one. You help them through it. This is the same process you're doing. You're helping your friend to find that healing. And then after that healing, you check in, sure, you check up, sure, but you just know,
Yeah.
you've done your job. I know I got off the phone with you at that time and I was just like, okay, and back to usual. And I was able to rest and sleep. And then when I called, it was like a checkup, check in, like, okay, how's things going now? But already with that faith, knowing that that healing has happened and that you can get up, pick up whatever you were laying on and walk.
Absolutely. And even with the paralytic man, there's so much even in his story. Now, I thank God my story was nowhere near as bad as this. But as you know, and for those of you who have been following Dual Purpose on YouTube for a while, you'll know that in 2019, I randomly developed this health condition with my foot, and it really did affect my mobility. I couldn't drive, I was on crutches, and I remember there were times when I physically could not help myself. And even this morning, actually, in my devotion, I was praying and I said, God, I thank you that I can get out of bed without crutches. Somebody doesn't have to lift me up out of the bed, because there was a time not so long ago when I couldn't get out of the bed without crutches. I couldn't carry my dinner, so I'd have to sit on the kitchen counter and rest my plate on top of the microwave, and that's where I ate because I was bound to these crutches. So when I read his story and I think of the people that helped me when I was down, when I didn't have the mobility that I once had, the Bible doesn't tell us how this man got into his situation. But I remember one of my friends calling me one day and she said, Toya, I'm coming to clean your house. And she came and she cleaned my house. She took my laundry, ironed it, brought it back. And you think of these people, these godly friendships that are there to help you in those really low points in your life. So what would you say to somebody, sis, who's in that place where, it could be a health challenge, it could be finances, emotional, mental, they're just in a place where they're really struggling. What advice would you give to them, or encouragement?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that I think you should take away from this conversation is that you're not alone out there. in any way, whether physical, emotional, mental, whatever that healing is that you need, you're not by yourself, and there are friends, godly friends that are willing to help you. I also sometimes, when I think of the paralytic man, like we don't know how it happened, but I would like to think that his friends went in and looked on him, or he yelled out for help. Something was happening there. A need. It took a while to recognize there was a need for this man. And once the friends recognized there was a need, then they were able to do that healing and helping. So just know in all things, one, you are not alone. There are others that are going through very similar things as you. And also knowing that there are friends. Sometimes we just have to reach out. Sometimes we're not getting the help we think the way we should get it. But if you accept that healing in it, if you sometimes verbalize what you need, that help is there for you.
Absolutely. And I definitely, in my opinion, I think these four friends are the hero of this story. Because, sometimes you can get to a point where you've been dealing with something for such a long time that you feel like if I speak to this person, they may be fed up of hearing about my woes by now. It's like, okay, girl, I heard you the first time. Like, this has been going on for so many years. But to think that these friends, they faced obstacles on the way. This, for four of them to have to carry him, the Bible doesn't tell us how long they had to carry him for. The physical weight of carrying somebody, the emotional, mental weight of carrying somebody. I just really love their determination. They knew there was one answer, and his name is Jesus. And so the fact that they got to the door, that didn't discourage them. It wasn't like, well, sorry, not your time today. It was, how else can we know where the answer is. How can we get our friend to the answer? They broke protocol and the roof just to do that for their friend. Um, but I know sometimes it does require us to open up and be vulnerable, and that's not always easy. So how would you, again, just encourage somebody with how they can be vulnerable and open up?
It's not easy to be vulnerable or open up at all. I don't think it's something that we want to do as human beings. I don't know if we have a lot of women out there, but I know even for us, sometimes it's hard to say you need help. It feels like you're
Yeah.
saying, I'm not perfect. But that's not what you're saying at all. This is a world where it takes everything, it takes multiple people to make anything work. It doesn't take just one person. If you look at even the TV that you use, you need electricity, you need, whether it's internet, you need the cable. Like, so many things have to fall in place for it to work perfectly. So you need to understand the same way. Sometimes it's going to take four friends to kind of hold you up. Sometimes it's not going to be you by yourself, and that's 100% okay.
Absolutely. So, yeah, anybody that's watching this, we are talking about the paralytic man. And for you, maybe your situation isn't physical, it could be emotional, it could be a financial need. And again, talking about godly friendships, I remember, sis, I don't know if you remember this phone call. I remember calling you, and I was in a real financial difficulties as a result of a number of things that have happened. And I was in a place where, because of my health, I had to reduce my working hours. So I was now part time, but your bills don't cut in half because you're on a part time
Oh,
salary.
no, they
And I remember calling you
don't.
and just explaining the situation. And it wasn't that I was saying, send me some money. I was just sharing with you because you are a safe place for me. And I never forget, you told me a story of your own experience of having a financial challenge as well. And you said, but Toya, it got to a point where I got to the end of the month and I still had money in my account before I got paid. And I actually remembered that recently because you were encouraging me that God will change my story. It won't always be a struggle. And I remembered that recently because I'm now in a season where God has changed my story. And I do have money left in my account when I get paid. And I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this to encourage somebody. If you're in that season where you don't know where the next meal is coming from, you don't know how you're going to survive financially, the same God that helped Adria is the same God that helped me and is the same God that will help you as well.
I agree 100%. I think we have to be diligent. We
Mm,
have to continuously pray. We have to continuously worship. And we have to continuously
mhm.
put that one foot in front of the other.
Amen. And again, I think prayer is such a key there. And even when reading this story about the paralytic man, I thought, Let's be honest, Jesus isn't walking on the earth in 2021 in physical form, so we can't break through the roof to bring our friends to Jesus in physical form.
Right.
But we can bring our friends to Jesus in prayer. And one of the blessings of godly friends, I think, is definitely the gift of prayer. And I call prayer a gift because not everybody uses it. I think people really underestimate the power of prayer. And one thing I'm grateful for with my godly friends is knowing that they're praying for you. Sometimes they don't have to say, Latoya, I'm praying for you. You just know that you're on their prayer list continuously. You just know that they're keeping you. And sometimes the reason you're able to stand is because of their prayers. So, how important would you say prayer is within this, I guess, within this theme of godly friendships?
I think it's very important for sure. How else do you lift up that friend when you're miles
Mm,
away, like you and I are sometimes? Like I can verbally speak to you, but there's something about that spiritual relief that comes with prayer
mm,
when someone gets on their knees for you. I always remember we had I called her my grandmother and she would sometimes call me and just say, Adria, I prayed for you. And it would be a hard time at school. It would be my car has a flat. It would be the craziest times in my mind. And it would never be a time where I would assume somebody was
mm,
praying for me, but I always felt that peace. And that's when I realized this is that relief that comes, that spiritual relief that
mm.
comes when someone is on their knees for you. So I want you to know, like sometimes when you're feeling that, that's somebody on their knees praying
Yeah.
for your situation and what you're going through. Feel free to always lift each other up in prayer
Mm,
and reach out to others to pray for you. That is the way that we will feel that enrichment, that lightness, that ease that
mm.
sometimes just releases your spirit and you feel that freedom. That's where I feel like that comes from
Mm.
for me.
And definitely don't underestimate the power of your prayers. You know, God sees and hears. And there's a scripture in the Bible that I love because it says, before you call, I will answer. And while you're yet speaking, I will hear. So, I think it's so important to pray for our friends and our families. And so, anybody listening to this podcast, I would encourage you just continue to pray for your loved ones. Sometimes you see people and they may look happy, they may look like they've got it all together, they may be your closest friends, but sometimes they don't always verbalize everything that they're going through. So, keeping that person lifted in prayer, you really don't know how much you're impacting that person's life. Another thing is, this man had four friends. The Bible says how crowded this house was. The house was so full inside, outside, that the only choice that these friends had was to climb up to the roof. And so I was thinking about this, that how many people walked past this paralytic man and didn't stop to help him. Sometimes we can be so desperate for the things that we want God to do for us that we can overlook the situation of somebody else. um, but while I was thinking about this, I remembered a conversation I had with one of my friends a few months ago, and I was saying, at this point, I don't feel like I have an inner circle, I have a line. And we laughed about it. But, the truth is, I've realized with age and maturity and life experiences, I've realized you don't need 100 people. You don't need 20 deep, as they would say. You just need those key people who are supposed to be in this season of your life. And sometimes we have to put boundaries and alter relationships, but I'm comfortable with my line. The few people that are really there, and I know I never have to second guess anything. So, again, sis, how important would you say it is to just make sure that those in your inner circle, or your line in my case, how important is it to make sure that those people are the right people in your corner?
As you say that, it has me thinking, right? Because you mentioned this gentleman probably was at home or like laying there before his friends assisted him by bringing him up to the roof and lowering him through the roof. How many
Mm,
of his friends or people that he thought were his friends walked by him or didn't
mm,
come to help him? Or
mm-hmm,
like cut out when they were like, oh, it's a crowd, sorry, I really thought I could help you get in here. How many of his friends ran in, didn't even
mm,
think of taking him with them because they
mm,
wanted their healing first? Like it really makes me wonder all of those things. That's so
yeah.
important, as you say, with a line, because some of those godly friendships, those people that we think are our godly friends, are not really our godly friends. Can we love them?
Mm,
We will always love them.
absolutely.
100% we will always love them. But we want to be a part of that group with the paralytic man and his friends, whether it's you
Mm,
who is paralyzed or the one that is lowering him down, to know that as a
mm,
friendship group, this is what we are. If it was
yeah.
me, you, anyone, we would do the same thing and we would lower each other down for that
Mm,
healing and rejoice in it
mm,
and know it is happening to walk by faith. That is definitely something. If you're going to have a line, you want those people in your line. A circle, okay, I get it. Like, we're getting older, or, sometimes you may have that circle. That's fine. Your circle can be your friends that will lower you down through a roof for your healing. That can happen too. Sometimes we just have that many godly friends. But I think
mm,
that's the key there, is like knowing that person's going to be praying for you, is
mm,
pulling for you, is going to give you that spiritual friendship, right? But also that physical friendship, not just the let's go out and go eat, but also like we're
mm.
going to pray over food before we eat. Let me
Oh,
find out what's
yes.
going on in your life. How can I help? How can I uplift you? Here's what I'm bringing to the table. Here's my
Mm,
struggle. Here's what I need help with, and laying that down there so you can work on that together. Those are the
mm.
kind of friends that you do need to focus on and having in your life. So if that makes it your friends align, that's 100% fine. If it makes your friends circle, that works too. But you just need those great friends in your life, those godly friends.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And we're not saying cut off all your friends and only have four.
Right?
Let's put that disclaimer out there. But one of my godly friends actually said to me recently, and it's never left me. I don't know if she realized the power in what she said, but she said that she's very careful to understand her purpose in people's lives. And I think that's so important. We can have many friends and acquaintances, but we have to understand the purpose that we are in those people's lives, because if you try to be something in somebody's life that you're not supposed to be, I feel like there's a danger in that, because you're now operating in a place God didn't set you to be, and maybe the person that's supposed to fill that space in that person's life, they now can't fill that space because you're occupying that space.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even too, to think of like friendships, I had a conversation the other day with a coworker as they were talking about things they wanted to do in the community and what they wanted to see from whatever they did. And I kind of pointed out, okay, are we given or are we doing a give and take here? Right? In our friendships, like, yeah, that purpose 100% is important. That purpose makes everything, it allows you to continue to grow in your friendship.
Mm,
But is it going to be a give and take where sometimes, I give and then sometimes I get something, or am I just given?
yeah.
It's definitely important to understand what your role is going to be in each other's lives. I agree.
Yeah. And I think, for me, those in my line will be very aware that, for me, loyalty is such a major thing. And I'm one person who I don't expect what I'm not willing to give. And so, because I expect loyalty, I give it. Those in my line know that I will drop what I'm doing and I will be there however I can. And so I almost feel like it's unfair to me and to those in my inner circle or my line for me to have 20, 30, 50 people who I am giving so many pieces of myself to. Because again, sis, one thing you've always said to me for years is, Toya, if you don't look after yourself, you will be no good to anybody else. You love to give, you love to support, but if you don't look after you, you won't be there to give and to support. So yeah, I think a part of it comes down to wanting to give the best of me to those who I know are supposed to be in my life in this season. And I don't feel that I could effectively do that if I am, you know, cutting myself in 50 different pieces. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I agree. You definitely have to be, there has to be some focus
Mm,
there. I see your point there too, because you are that friend.
mm,
I'm not even gonna lie. And not because I'm on the podcast, guys. I'm not just making this up just because I'm here. She's not paying me to say this. Like, she really is that friend that does give 110% to every friendship. You don't feel like she's not a friend to you. That's who you are. So I 100% see that. I see that in everything you do is your friendship. And I think that also is why your friendship is a line,
mm,
because there are those that as you're giving your all to, you see God through them. You see, as you're given all of this, you're working walking through the friendship with them. You're a part of their life, their lifestyle, and everything they do. And I think that's exactly why you have a line, because you can give
Mm,
all to those few friends you have, and you're
yeah,
like, you know, similar and
yeah.
alike. Yeah.
So, just in wrapping up this podcast, then, I mean, we've touched on so many different things, what it's like sometimes when you're going through that low place and making sure that you surround yourself with the right people, also being that right person that supports other people. We've spoken about, you don't need to have an entire congregation around you, let's say, you just need the ones that are assigned to your life in this season. So just in wrapping up, sis, anything that you would just want to encourage our listeners with today?
Yeah, I think it's very important for us to take this conversation back to our lives and to be great
Mm,
friends to
mm-hmm,
each other, to love each other, to be willing to help each other heal, and to bring one another to Christ in whichever way we can. So, whether you're going to be the paralytic man in this scenario, whether you're going to be the friend in this scenario, just try to be the best that you can be, also knowing that there's always
mm,
help there. You're never alone in your journey or your struggles. So always reach out, always share, and always be willing to accept what others are able to
yeah.
give to you as far as your
Amen. I
friends.
think that's great advice. So, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Adria, it's been great having you as the first guest on the Dual Purpose podcast. And I'm sure this won't be the last. So, anybody watching,
Praise
anybody watching or listening, we
God.
really want to hear from you as well, because I know that as we have spoken today, I'm sure you have remembered instances in your life where you were the friend who were carrying your friend to Jesus, or maybe you were the paralytic person, or maybe you were the hundreds in the door who walked past somebody that you could have helped, and there's no judgment here. But wherever you find yourself, and whatever you've remembered through this, we would love to hear from you. So if you're watching on YouTube, just comment below, and share with us maybe one of your testimonies of how you were a godly friend, or what one of your godly friends did to help you in a season as well. We'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much for watching. If you're not following us on Instagram, our Instagram handle is @dualpurpose.co, and we will see you again soon. Take care. God bless.